Go at WGR Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. Welcome into the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, where the voice of the Rochester fan is heard. Pull up a stool and join us at 866-4326. This is WGR Rochester, and the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia is on now.
With apologies to Chris Mad Dog Russo. Good afternoon, and welcome into the Sports Bar. Yes, we are back where we belong here in Afternoon Drive. Thank you for joining us. We're coming to you live from the downtown studios, the High Falls District, where the sun is out. Beautiful afternoon here in the month of August, and we're glad you're with us here today. 4 to 6 are new hours here in the Sports Bar. Gene Battaglia with you. Tim Schneider, our fine producer. Dan DeLorean, who's a liar. I'll get to that. I'm like, wait a second. Good nature, of course. So Francesco filling in, but Francesco taking the Dan DeLorean route where he's, cubbied up in the whole way across, which that's good. He's got to focus on his job. You are welcome to join us at 585-866-4326. That is the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman Line award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com. First show I ever did when it comes to sports, just kind of doing it live, was the draft shows, and this was on CMF. And one of the first guests we ever had was Ryan Talbot, and that was the night that the Bills traded Sammy Watkins. Fast forward, when we're doing this years down the road, Ryan Talbot, one of the first guests. Ryan Talbot, coming back from COVID after we had that little bit of a hiatus, he was our first guest. Ryan Talbot, in fine tradition, following the show, first guest here in the new time slot. We'll talk Bills, of course, extensively today. That's what you want to hear on your drive home. What happened? What do I need to know? That's going to be our job here, not just with the Bills, but with Rochester sports. But Ryan Talbot, NewYorkUpstate.com, the Shout podcast, who came into town last week doing his event. So we'll talk to Ryan coming up here, bottom of this hour. Maggie Gray will join us in the 5 p.m. hour today. Maggie is fantastic for years. You listened to her on WFAN. You also heard her with Perloff on our station on the now-defunct Infinity Sports Network. Maggie is doing her podcast now, and she's got thoughts on Josh Allen and the Bills. So we'll be pleased to be joined by Maggie Gray coming up in hour number 2. That would be the 5 p.m. hour. Again, give us a call at 585-866-4326. You can write to us. Best way, X is our handle, at WGR Rochester. I mean, if you know my cell phone, you can text me. I'll read it. Great to hear Jim Rome back on the Rochester airwaves. Have a good show, Gino. Thank you, Whit. Appreciate you, bud. And by all means, many platforms you can listen to here. 95.7 FM, AM 950, always streaming for free inside the Odyssey app. And we're on YouTube and Twitch as well, where you can leave a comment. In the comment section, the table is set. These two stories I'm going to connect, meaning what I did this weekend. So I had this planned a long time ago, just to enjoy Guy baseball weekend. It ended up being just my son and I, and we had a blast. We went down to Pittsburgh. Stadium is fantastic. That area is fantastic. And I always thought that they would have put the blue and the red scrimmage on a Friday night like they have in years past. For the first time, this was on a Saturday. So, whoops, I already made these plans. So that's why I was not in Buffalo on Saturday. But it's funny how the stadium story had two lives, meaning first live was, hey, here we are. Look at this. Look at these players. Look at the lighting. This looks great. And then you have this second wave of negativity of, hey, this isn't what we were promised kind of vibe to it. Well, I'll get to all that. But here's how I'm going to connect the two stories. I went to Pittsburgh, PNC Park. Again, this is not a topic for today, but I recency bias, what it is, I would put it number one in terms of my ballparks I've visited. For starters, it's got everything you want. It's cozy, great seats, and it's got a neighborhood vibe to it around there. I was not familiar with the North Shore. I am now, and that's exactly what you want. The whole block around the stadium all closed off, so people with live music, open containers, things that you should be allowed to do, right? It's a game. Have some fun. which got me thinking a couple things. One, when we talk about the stadium, people always point to the dome. I'm going to wonder if we look back and, comparatively speaking, to Pittsburgh or Cincinnati, are we going to say, boy, it would have cost a lot of money to move that downtown with infrastructure and having to do roads and sewers and lighting and all that normally you wouldn't think about. But, boy, it did spark this neighborhood up. It did prop things up. It wasn't a North Shore in the 1990s. It was a Three River Stadium. That was it. You walked across the bridge or you parked around there and you left. Now you go there. You can have lunch before. You can hang out afterward. And by lunch before, I mean, it's a 7 o'clock, 6:40 first pitch. And people in Pittsburgh are all kind of gathering 1 o'clock. I'm like, this kind of got a vibe to it. I like that. But the thing that I think is relevant for today's conversation is that the tickets we got for Sunday, I'm like, wow, I can get these in right field, front row. Not too bad. Then I recall a story of, a tragic story. This is not that long ago. It was April 2025. Kid, by kid, he was underage. That's why I'm referring to him as a kid. Falls out of the stands, inebriated, and it led to a lot of conversation. How did he get inebriated? Was there enough? Were these stands safe enough? You shouldn't have people falling out of the stands 25 feet to the ground. Now, that person is alive. I don't know if they'll ever have, the same quality of life. But going down there, I'm like, And again, this is before anybody will step foot into the stadium in Buffalo. I'm wondering, I bought these seats, but am I going to have an obstructed view? There's going to be a railing right in front of me, and I can't complain about it because I don't want to fall down. As it turns out, the answer to that is no. Where my eyes are taking me, as they would take anybody else, is the infield. I'm looking at the mound. I'm looking at the batter. Hey, there's a ground ball, and let's see if they can turn a 6-4-3 double play. That's your eyes. Nothing obstructs me. Now, hey, there's a fly ball coming in our direction. All right, then you got to kind of sit up, and you got to kind of move around, just like I'm moving on and off the mic right now. And your eyes adjust. You adjust. It was fine. It was great. Had a great time. And Tim, this makes me a card-carrying Met fan when I am on camera for
I saw that.
You saw that
I
for
did.
multiple minutes on SNY. Tim Schneider, a fine producer, where I'm at the game, and it was one of those where I didn't charge my phone up enough, and I turned it off, and it kind of serves as I want to just focus on the game. All right, I get out to the car, turn my phone back on. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, oh, my gosh. During the seventh inning stretch, they're my son and I. They're just kind of showing us. Now, the sidebar here this is how I know Dan DeLorean's a liar. So Dan DeLorean is not here this week, and I take my summer vacation always around the 4th. He always takes his family vacation now, which is great. And everybody's got their favorite spot. For me, it's Cape Cod. For Dan DeLorean, it's the Adirondacks. And I'm Dan DeLorean. I'm going to go be with nature. I'm going to just let my beard grow, maybe not shower for a couple days, go swim in the lake, hunt, fish, whatever it is I do, and build a campfire. And I'm not going to turn on my phone. My phone is off for 2 weeks. Do not contact me. Dan, I won't contact you. It's your time. I respect you. Have a good time. Now, Larry Fitzgerald, in his acceptance speech for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, one of the lessons he told his sons, hey, likes and follows, don't pay attention to that. So it's with that disclaimer when I say this, I'm like, no, I'm not really paying attention to who likes a post or who doesn't. But I just happened to notice that when I put up the picture of hey, we're on SNY, and one Dan DeLorean liked it. Wait a second. I thought he turned his phone off for 2 weeks.
Maybe he's got a weekend excuse.
Maybe that's it. I get back to the point about the Bills Stadium.
Or used a computer.
Yes, or something like that. Or maybe he's just Dan DeLorean's a little fibber. We'll have to put him on the spot when he comes back. Oh, yeah, you're really unplugged. No, okay.
Hold a 13-day grudge.
Yeah, that's it. It's all good-natured fun. Hey, the people are pointing out things about the stadium, and I would just ask the question, anybody, and every news organization worth its weight in salt, every sports talk show worth its weight in salt that I've consumed here is either putting this out indirectly or directly. The indirect way is, hey, we're News Channel 7 Buffalo. Bills fans, you went to the stadium. What do you think? Leave us a comment here. There's been other shows that has been a little bit more direct. I mean, I'm listening to Ryder today, and he couldn't get anybody directly saying, hey, we got screwed on this. Like, we went to the Bills experience, and we were shown one thing, and all of a sudden, ta-da, obstructed view. I go back to my Pirates story. I'm sitting in the right field bleachers. There's a railing in front of me. That would have counted as an obstructed view. I didn't, for once, notice it. Remember the show Brain Games? Your mind adjusts, okay? I have a really, really good friends, the Gordon family. You may know them, Tim. I asked Brittany, like, hey, because I knew this, because she showed me, hey, here's our seats. They're in the upper deck. This was when they were going through the process, and I remember seeing the railing. And I'm like, does that bother you? No, it doesn't bother me at all. I'm like, okay. So I texted Brittany today. I'm like, hey, how were your seats? Were they okay or were they obstructed? Yep, we like our seats. Now, she didn't say love. I guess we could split hairs. But she's showing me the seats, and when you look at this photo, it would be a little unnerving. Like, wait, you just spent all that money, and I'm seeing the glass kind of obscuring the vision? Other people are pointing this out, too. SoFi Stadium, same thing they have there. Cowboy Stadium, hey, they've got obstructed seats, too. So unless somebody from the Bills experience, where, they're all out of town, by the way. That's the fly-by-night, hey, we're going to call you a million times to get you. Hey, they got their money. Jerry's people are back in Dallas, or they're on to the next thing. What would that be, Cleveland?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably, like, is it Cleveland? Yeah,
Cleveland and Kansas City.
Yeah, that's the next one. Where I do believe it's one of those, hey, on paper, this would outrage you, but you go to see it. And I've yet to hear the person who plunked down the money and, oh, my gosh, I was sold a bill of goods here. Because, again, if they didn't tell you about it, but I would think, and, again, I point to the Gordon family, they were shown the photo. They were shown, like, hey, this is where it's going to be. Now, talking with one of the local sales managers, Tim Thompson, I think this is a bigger issue. Like, things you wouldn't have thought about. When you're on the upper deck, and you're way, way, way up, old stadium. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom. Let me just go up three steps. Nope. You got to go all the way down, and you got to go to the main concourse. So that seems like maybe that was a corner they cut. And what we were told all along about how the seating is just so elevated, it's going to keep you on top of the action. Well, is that like Yankee Stadium where, hey, I'm looking at this, but I'm talking old Yankee Stadium, by the way. Old Yankee Stadium? Oh, my gosh, I'm looking right down at the action. I also feel like if I sneezed, I would have tumbled 10 rows, right? It's a little unnerving, and if you are not good with heights, maybe that's not for you. And they built a stadium in this regard. And for that very reason, you need handrails. You need safety features like that. How's that going to work? They're going to, when we get a little bit of bad weather, and sure, there will be people that are going to tromp in whatever's on their feet, getting up to the seats. It's not all going to be dry. Yes, I know there's a roof on your head, but some of it's going to get there. Or what's going to happen when we get our first flight in the upper deck? Oh, gee,
I'm sure we'll learn quickly.
Oh my gosh! Like for that would be a little different, a little unnerving. Like, oh my gosh, you duck out of the way of a punch, and then you're falling down. But I think the way the Bills could have avoided this, the way the whole outfit could have avoided this, and this was what I was suggesting from the get-go. You opened up a stadium with a practice. You opened up a $2 billion plus stadium with a practice. Using that in my best Allen Iverson inflection. A practice? You mean to tell me that you couldn't have had a concert, put that in there? Were you so deathly afraid you were going to wreck the grass? You couldn't get that in time done for June? Like, what? This was your opening act for the stadium? If you had a major concert for that stadium, well, let me tell you something. Your eyes wouldn't be looking down on the field. Your eyes would be looking in a different direction, and we wouldn't have any of this chatter today about, oh my gosh, there's so many obstructed seats. How did you do this all wrong? I'm the people I trust that are on the beat. This was not a story on Saturday night. All of a sudden, it kind of took off virally on Sunday, to the point where Monday people are just starting to ask questions. And unless somebody can say I was actually lied, I was deceived, legally, I don't, you need to have, somebody to back you up on that. 585-866-4326 is our phone number. We'll talk to Ryan Talbot here a little bit. NewYorkUpstate.com and the Shout Podcast. Maggie Gray coming up in the 5 p.m. hour. Our number, 585-866-4326. Tom in Rochester. Good afternoon, Tom.
Good afternoon, Gene. Love the new time.
Thank
Perfect
you.
for me.
Great.
Hey, listen, I'm like a lot of your listeners, and probably like you. I've been to stadiums all over this country, collegiate, pro, indoor, outdoor. I'll find you the obstructed view seat. Just give me enough time. There's only one stadium layout I've been to, and I'm 60 years old, Big Ten grad. Tons of stadiums in the Big Ten are bowl stadiums. No one wants a bowl stadium for a pro game, okay? You don't want it.
No.
You want to be on top of the action. Because they're the safest stadium for old people, young kids, right? The way it all pans out and flows out. Otherwise, you're going to have railings, plexiglass, things that prevent something terrible from happening to fans. So, again, show me the stadium, give me enough time, I'll show you the obstructed view. And by the way, how many are we talking about in 60,000 plus seats, right? That's the other question, because they're going to happen. So I'm interested if they start really addressing this, like it's a big problem. But again, I'm not surprised at all.
No, and Tom, thank you for the perspective there. I mean, that'd be a good kind of fun exercise, right? Like, okay, you just called it. Like, all right, we're not going to say the big house in Michigan, right? We're not going to say Lambeau. Like, the stadium just has the bowl configuration. No, like, that's not what this is. I pointed to SoFi, Los Angeles. It's obstructed seats. Dallas, obstructed seats.
Worst case, you just pull the seats and put something there, like a vendor. You just replace it with something that you can sell there.
Yeah, they might just kind of do some fine-tuning over the years. And again, I'm pointing to my experience in Pittsburgh yesterday. They're not calling that an obstructed seat. I'm looking down. I can't see Carson Bench and whoever the Pirates were trotting out in right field yesterday. That wasn't. It didn't faze me one bit. Didn't even think about it until I get home last night. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is. Hey, we're moved on to the next thing. Also, too, like, what did you think of the move for Josh Allen to go out there in the Nickel City? Wait a second here, Josh. For many, 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 many years, that was always the kind of the feel-good summer moment. Hey, Josh, you're going to come out in a red helmet? And he would. Woo, look, it's a red helmet. And then one year was a black helmet. And this year he became the corporate guy. Like, you will like these. You will like these uniforms. I am going to tell you. Nickel City is where it's at. Okay. That kind of took a little fun. I always thought Josh would come out in Zuba's helmet, a little zebra action there. Did that work for you after seeing it on the field? I always reserve judgment saying, all right, until I actually see this on the field with the lighting and how it kind of presented, and I'm like, yeah.
It goes from a 3 to a 4 to me, but the helmet has got to go.
If they took away the gray pants and just kind of reconfigured it just a little bit. It's the gray on gray. And stop with the nickel. It's gray. It's gray, right? Just call it for what it is. Nickel. What are we, 5? This is the Crayola box of 64 crayons. That's probably before your time, where I had burnt umber and all these other wicked colors that don't even, just making up names of colors here, magenta and everything else. Nickel. I don't even remember the nickel. It's just gray. Boring ass gray uniforms for the Buffalo Bills. See, again, it's just a PR thing.
Charcoal, burn them.
Yeah, that's it. Ryan Talbot, NewYorkUpstate.com. You can give us a call, 585-866-4326. Ryan, joining us next here. My name is Gene Battaglia on WGR Rochester.
WGR Rochester Sports Update.
Head coach Joe Brady making this like a normal week. Monday, a practice leading up to a game on Saturday. Connor McGovern didn't practice today. Not sure the exact nature of this injury. Head coach Joe Brady on the depth at center.
Credit being, in these situations that we have guys that aren't just rookies having to go in there and go with it. But look, I don't want anybody to ever get injured, but when we go through this, it's real. That's what happens in games, and a guy like Loiter said, just going in, not blinking, and we just got to call the game and roll.
1 p.m. Saturday for the Bills hosting Carolina. Ryan Talbot, NewYorkUpstate.com, and the Shout Podcast to join us next year in the Sports Bar. Rochester Red Wings are off tonight. They lost 9-8 on Sunday in Scranton. They begin a series tomorrow at home against Charlotte. Major Leagues tonight, the Red Sox beginning a series in Toronto. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester.
Your proud home of Rochester Americans hockey, WGR Rochester.
Of course, it is not hockey season yet. We got some time on that. Certainly, and like all these new little things they're putting in the show, like, okay, that's what this sounds like. Hey, we're back here. We are in our new home. Where's it our old home? Afternoon drive. Well, we're glad you're with us here this afternoon. 4 to 6, our new time slot here on WGR Rochester. Gene Battaglia with you. Certainly, there are many great Bills podcasts, but one we certainly highly recommend would be the Shout Podcast. It's because they're two great guys, Ryan Talbot, Matt Perino. Ryan joining us on the phone this afternoon. And Ryan, is it a human nature thing? Because I was not able to go to the blue and the red scrimmage, but here I was, just my feed on Saturday night, consuming it. Wow, look at these new photos. This is great. This is all the fixins. This is a lot of fun. It turns over the next 24 hours where we're talking about obstructed seats, and I just don't know what to make of it. Ryan, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Yeah, I was there. Like you said, this place has all the bells and whistles, but you're never going to be able to satisfy everyone, and usually the negative people are the loudest.
I guess that is the takeaway here. And if somebody feels like, hey, we were sold something, well, then you go back and you talk to your ticket rep or whatever it is. But we'll leave it at that, I guess, Ryan, because I've yet to hear the person that actually is putting their name on it saying they're going to do anything about it. Ryan, what did the players think of the field? Like, it was out there. It got a little rainy. Tell me your thoughts on practice on Saturday.
Yeah, the players really seemed to enjoy it. Spencer Brown joked that he was going to stay there overnight and sleep there. It was so nice and so good for the players. And I think across the league, every player would prefer grass like the Bills have now. So rave reviews from the players. Just like the theme of this year's training camp, tons of rain, and it just came pouring down about midway through the blue and red scrimmage. And, it passed his first test, I guess is the best way of saying it, because the field held up nicely. Obviously, a lot of fans headed for the exits, stood in the concourse area and were able to watch the practice comfortably. But if you were in those 100s and 200s, you were hit pretty hard by that rain.
Yeah, it is just kind of strange how, the rain followed you from Rochester out to there, and maybe everything will be nice for this Saturday for the first preseason game against Carolina. Maybe we don't see Connor McGovern. Now, Joe Brady did not talk today, and that cut we played for in the sports update, that was actually from Saturday night, where you're just talking about the depth. But Brian, either that or Ty Johnson, do we have any kind of knowledge, anything about these injuries, or is it just a matter of the Bills being cautious at this point of camp?
Yeah, we really don't know for sure. Ty Johnson one happened right in front of me. At practice on Saturday night. We were out there on the field, and he was just running a route against Joe Andreessen. He seemed to slip on his cut, went down, and was grabbing at his lower right leg. And so that's all we know. There's nothing specific about it. He was able to get up, and he needed two trainers to kind of help him off the field. Always scary because he's played such a big role behind James Cook the last few years. And then Connor McGovern, same deal. There was a turnover. And after the play, he was going back to the offensive players, and he just kind of started hobbling and went down. And we don't know the specifics of it yet, so I really don't want to speculate what it was and how long they could potentially be out. But the good news for the Bills is they have some veteran players. They have Lloyd Cushenberry, who has a ton of starts under his belt at center. They obviously have Ray Davis, who's been in this system, and obviously James Cook in the front at that running back room.
What about the back end, though? And I'm wondering who is going to be the star, so to speak, on Saturday. And I'd be stunned if I saw James Cook dress, much less take a carry. Maybe the same thing for Ray Davis. Tell me a little bit about this kid from the UFL, Ryan. Might be he somebody that is going to press Frank Gore? Do we have a competition for what may be a practice squad spot here at running back?
Yeah, I think it is a legitimate competition. I like Frank Gore Jr., and he's had some nice moments. The Bills trusted him enough last year to elevate him at times in season, so he's built a lot of trust in that room with Joe Brady. But Wheeler comes over from the UFL, and it wasn't that long ago that he came into the league as a UDFA with the Chicago Bears, and he had a 2-touchdown performance against Buffalo in the preseason. About a week after that, though, he suffered a season-ending injury, and if you're a UDFA in this league and something like that happens, you're quickly out of the league, unfortunately. So he goes to the UFL, and he stars there, and come playoff time, he averages 10 yards per carry and helps his team go pretty far in that league. So they're getting a back that's pretty confident. Joe Brady at training camp was talking about him a little bit, saying this is a guy that just goes. He goes 100 miles an hour, and there's been some evidence of that where he's taken a carry and gone around the edge and was off to the races. So he's an exciting player to watch. He had a nice reception and a nice run on Saturday night at the stadium. I think it's a legitimate competition for a practice squad spot, and it wouldn't shock me if maybe both players ultimately end up landing on the practice squad.
Ryan, news from right at the end of training camp. Oh, okay, this wasn't on my radar. I knew it was coming up in the offseason perhaps, but the Bills are not going to let O'Cyrus Torrence get to free agency, locking up the right guard. Where do you come down on this? Because on the one hand, I can certainly respect the fact that the Bills are, making sure that the offensive line stays intact, something to say for continuity. On the other hand, is that an area where you could save some money and, next time there's say you're going to you want to go big game hunting for the Buffaloes, and they're not able to. And one of the reasons they're not able to is, well, it's good that you get these guys before they hit the market. It also kind of limits you in what you may be able to do down the road. So, again, your thoughts here overall on O'Cyrus Torrence and the decision to lock him up early.
Yeah, it's a tough call because, like you said, he's being paid, I believe, definitely top 10 guardman. I think it's number 7 right now. In a year or two, though, he probably drops into that 15 to 20 range just based on the way the market goes, and that's probably better off for where he is, and the Bills like to get ahead of these deals. He's been great as a run blocker. He hasn't been as strong in pass protection, but he's also a very young player. And like you said, continuity is so important. You look at the right side of that line now, and you have O'Cyrus Torrence and Spencer Brown locked up for multiple years. You have Connor McGovern at center locked up for multiple years. So those three are going to be playing football together for the foreseeable future, and you'd think that would be a good sign for Josh Allen. But like you said, they're always cap-strapped, it feels like, come free agency, and a lot of that is going out there and re-signing their own guys. Sometimes it's a home run where you get a guy, you look at James Cook right now, who I'm guessing will maybe have a hold in next year or something along those lines. At least if I were his agent, that's probably what I'm pushing. He's getting severely underpaid after you see these contracts being signed by Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, all phenomenal in their own right. But Cook's coming off of a season where he was the league's rushing leader, and now he's almost making like around half of what they're making in terms of the average AAV. So they get ahead of it sometimes. Other times there's bad contracts. And Terrell Bernard right now, that extension doesn't look phenomenal by any means. So you kind of have to play that game. If you're confident in a player, try to get them under a reasonable deal where it's going to be ahead of the market. You're going to have them in a comfortable spot, but it doesn't always work out that way. And like you said, the Bills haven't found themselves in a spot to really go out in either free agency and make a big swing or even via trade where, yeah, you're giving up draft capital, but then you have to also give that player a new contract. They haven't necessarily been in that market for, a Myles Garrett, for instance, who every team would have loved a player like that.
We're talking to Ryan Talbot, NewYorkUpstate.com, the Shout podcast, as the Bills will be taking on the Panthers preseason game on Sunday. Okay, we dig a little deeper here, Ryan. Who's the backup tackle or tackles on this team? Has Jude Bowery shown enough where he's on that track? Grable, Bowery, Lunt. Who would you say are the two here?
Yeah, I think Bowery's kind of run away from those two, believe it or not, in terms of the competition. And that's impressive. You know, 4th-round pick, rookie. He's come in and he's shown why the Bills are so high on him. He's a phenomenal athlete, been able to get to the second level at times, really picking the brain of Spencer Brown and Deion Dawkins a lot at camp, and it's shown. He's come in and he's performed very well. Between the other two, Chase Lunt is not having a great summer. Really, I feel like has had more struggles than successes in terms of playing at tackle, and Grable's been up and down, but a little bit more consistent there. The problem with Grable is it wasn't that long ago that he won the swing tackle job, and he was very young at that point. You thought that you had a developmental player that could be the heir apparent to one of those guys, but now he's really kind of struggled and taken a step back. An injury took a toll on him, obviously, last year, and now you're sitting here wondering maybe he's not even a big part of their future. He might be able to hold on to a spot this year, but for the foreseeable future, it looks like Jude Bowery, and then maybe, you know, it could be someone else in the mix next year.
Ryan, I'll just state an opinion many would share. No Josh Allen, no playoffs, right? Like, you need – but there's also that scenario like, all right, you need somebody for a game or two or three. From what you've seen so far, do the Bills have a backup quarterback problem?
Yes, 100%, without hesitation. You know, Kyle Allen is a good friend of Josh Allen's. He's been here before. Allen loves having other quarterbacks in this roster and that quarterback room that he's good and friends with, close with. You look at Mitch. You can go even further back than that. There's always been someone, Matt Barkley, that Allen's been close to in that room. And Trubisky, though, to his credit, has come in. He's played a lot of games in this league. He was really good last year. Mind you, it was against the Jets in the regular season finale. But there's someone that in a 2 to 3 game pinch, you could probably get away with it because you could run the ball well. You'd have to hope on him to just be able to protect the ball. I don't trust Kyle Allen at all. He's had a very poor camp. He's struggled a lot for this team. And Matt and I have gone back and forth on this, where Shane Buechele has been the clear better quarterback this summer, but would the Bills really move on from Kyle Allen because of his relationship with Josh Allen? I think they would. He's not as sure on that. I think at the end of the day, though, either one of those QBs that does not win the backup job will be able to come back to the team on the practice squad rather comfortably. I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams beating down the doors for either of those players. But they have a real problem here. If something were to ever happen to Allen, I don't think this team would trust either QB. And I think they'd go out there and try to sign someone that's on the free agent market, a Jimmy Garoppolo or whoever the best available player is. And that's not saying much, but there'd be more confidence in a player like that, even if you're signing them, bringing them onto the practice squad for a week before you elevate them, than there would be in a Kyle Allen or a Shane Buechele.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? You may have a quarterback that's let go, and maybe I don't want a practice squad spot for that veteran. But yeah, I that might be on full display. Like, all right, this Saturday, like this needs to be addressed. Let's see what kind of transpires there. Another thing we're going to be paying attention to. There's only one kicker on the roster. It's Tyler Bass, and it was good to see him back kicking for the first time since he in a year here. That was on Thursday. What do we need to see out of Tyler Bass this preseason, Ryan? I mean, yes, make kicks, but what if the situations don't present themselves? I mean, I get the sense that I'm not going to feel very comfortable about until we at least get into a few games in the regular season when it comes to Tyler Bass.
Yeah, in terms of the medicals, everything seems fine, but you're right. Last year we were told, oh, yeah, he should be good to go. He should be kicking in the preseason. We think he's on pace to play, and then obviously that never took place. So he was kind of hit in the first few practices of training camp. They said that was by design, getting used to 2 new holders. And then he did come out and he made 5 of 7 at training camp. And then on Saturday night, he was 8 of 8 when it came to the kicking drill. So that's good. That's a confidence builder. But you need to just see him out there, see him available, make sure there are no hiccups along the way, because like you said, there's no competition on this roster for him. The beauty of this league, though, is there's always some decent kickers sitting out there on the market. Last year, even before they signed Prater, they brought in Eddie Pinheiro, who ended up having a really good season himself when he was signed elsewhere in this league. So there's usually a few veterans in the mix, but for Bass, it's just availability. Make sure he's out there and kicking every preseason game. There's no setbacks. He was kicking, though, very well on Saturday night with plenty of room to spare on his field goals. All of them were within 50 yards, so there weren't any that went too long. I know in warm-ups he did make one from 60, though.
Ryan Talbot is our guest here. Another thing we're going to keep tabs on, and I don't expect this Saturday to see C.J. Gardner-Johnson out there or Cole Bishop. Cole Bishop didn't practice today. Not sure what that was about, but my question is about the backups here. And I'm going to, I guess for the sake of this, also include Geno Stone here, because if I'm including these 5 guys here, Ryan, and I think Stone is on the team, right? Stone, Hamlin, Kilgore, Jordan Hancock, and Sam Franklin, who really is more of a special teamer than anything. Who's the odd man out there, would you say?
You know, if everyone's healthy, I think Hamlin's an odd man out, despite being here in Buffalo so long. I think Sam Franklin might be an odd man out. Like you said, he is mainly a special teams guy. He's had some opportunities, though, to play on defense at camp and even on Saturday night, and it was Kaliki Latu that put a double move on him that he just left him in the dust. And that's not what you want to see when you're going against the number 4 or number 5 tight end on the team. You want to at least see it'll be a little bit more competitive of a rep. Right now, though, they're a little bit banged up. Gardner-Johnson exited practice today. Cole Bishop wasn't there. There were some people saying that he left before, I believe, the final period of practice on Saturday. But until we know anything for sure, we're just kind of speculating in terms of maybe it's precautionary. Who knows? But with those 2 out, you look at Geno Stone. I think he has a roster spot. It wasn't that long ago that he led the AFC in interceptions. I believe it was 2023 with Baltimore. So this seems like a system that really does play to his strengths. And Jordan Hancock has really come on strong the last few training camp practices, including today, had another nice play. I think they envision him more as the backup nickel cornerback, but he has the versatility to play safety. Jalen Kilgore has the highest ceiling of the room. The rookie that they drafted on day 3, I think that he was someone that should have been drafted rounds before that, but for whatever reason, he wasn't, and that's going to benefit the Bills. Multiple pass breakups this summer, multiple interceptions against Kyle Allen and Shane Buechele. He is standing out among the competition that he's going against, and that's all you can ask for there. So, I know Hamlin's had some really good opportunities, and including kind of getting mixed in at the top. But if I were to pick someone, he's probably the odd man out. That's a true safety, and then Franklin as well, just because I don't know if this team is going to covet special teams as much as Sean McDermott did.
Yeah, we'll be keeping an eye certainly on Joe Brady, not the preseason, but once we get rolling into the season. And, hey, having I'd have to look up the last time the Bills actually had a head coach calling the plays on offense. This is going to be a little different here, Ryan. And another new wrinkle, and this isn't from the Bills, so it's an option. The league today saying, hey, the head coach can designate somebody on their staff to challenge. I want to just kind of get your thoughts on this. Like, it opens up the idea that, hey, if Joe Brady wants to take something off his plate, let me designate someone else who actually has, a connection, a little bit more of a rules expert there. Your thoughts there? Like, if you were a head coach, would you still want that responsibility, or would you delegate it?
You would probably want the responsibility, but in all fairness, in the NFL today, coaches don't sometimes get the message from downstairs where they're on the sideline and they're waiting to hear back from someone because they say, hey, I'm potentially interested in challenging this. Teams move so quickly that they can't sometimes get that challenge flag out. So if you can kind of cut the middleman out and have someone that's up there that's going to buzz down immediately and say, hey, challenge this, I think that might be the way to go. And if for whatever reason the Bills lose a few challenges early on, maybe he changes that philosophy and maybe says, you know what, I'll ultimately buzz up to you guys, or I'll call up to you guys on my headset and say, check this, let me know. And if we don't get it in time, we don't. But I kind of like the idea. you can have someone that's upstairs that's watching closely, and I think that the messaging can get down to him versus calling up and then having to wait to get the yay or nay from whoever that is that you're putting in charge.
Yeah, it's also interesting how like the expedited replay has kind of taken the decision out of the hands. Like if something is so obvious that we got it wrong, okay, you know what? And for the viewer at home and for the game, it makes it better. It also kind of takes away one of those like other sports don't do that necessarily, Ryan. And I just find it kind of funny how we've kind of evolved there, and it's really not that big a deal.
Yeah, it's true. That is one thing working in favor of the NFL now. More times than not, this does get just called in by the league, changed immediately, and that's a good thing. But there were also instances last year where I thought for sure the league would kind of come in and say, nope, we're going to overturn this, and nothing happened. So you still need it from time to time. If he has someone that he trusts, I'd like to see how that plays out.
Ryan, it was great to see you and Matt out on Thursday night, and it was great that some of our listeners kind of came out as well. So now that we're back in a rhythm, I mean, is this going to feel like kind of a regular season week? That's what Joe Brady wants. He wants the team to treat this like a regular season week here. Is that going to be the same thing for the Shout podcast this week?
Yeah, absolutely. We will have a podcast after every practice. We had one today around 2 p.m. We'll have another one tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, and then we'll have you covered on Saturday following the preseason game as well.
Ryan, appreciate the time. Thank you once again. Another first guest kind of medal we can hang around your head here. First guest in the do we call it the new time slot? Do you call it an old time slot? I don't know, but we're back here in Afternoon Drive.
And I'm glad you are, and I'm honored to be that guest.
Hey, Ryan, you're the best. We'll talk soon.
All right, sounds great.
Ryan Talbot, NewYorkUpstate.com, Shout Podcast, who kind of shares the same sentiment that I am saying to you, that this story about the obstructed seats for the Buffalo Bills, is it coming from actual people that bought the seats? Or is it just a few images and it takes off, and now your Pro Football Talks, your New York Post, like people that don't know? Like, name me the stadium, as Tom pointed out earlier. Every stadium's got something obstructed. Now, it's just a little different in Buffalo, and now you're seeing it. Let's also talk about the football. I do think the Bills have a backup quarterback problem. It's an area that you don't want to spend any money. In a perfect world, okay, what's the backup quarterback there for? Hey, we're up 38-10. Let's get Josh out of there and let so-and-so come in and run this. If you had to say right now, is the backup quarterback for the Buffalo Bills in 2026 on the roster right now? I'm going to guess no. I'm going to lean on the side of no on that from what I've seen so far. Steve Buechele, not Steve Buechele, Shane Buechele. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback, to be quite honest. And Kyle Allen's been terrible this preseason.
They haven't needed a quarterback behind Josh Allen his entire career, though. Like, yes, it's something that you need in case of emergency, but there hasn't been an emergency yet, so why worry about it until?
Well, rookie season he was out. And you had to piece that together with Matt Barkley and Peterman, and it was just kind of so. Like the idea that Josh has this string of consecutive games, that's insurance. Nobody likes spending money on insurance. Why? Like every time, like, hey, if you upgrade for a little bit more coverage, okay, you're an NFL team and you want to win a Super Bowl. One game could be the difference between you getting the 1 seed and the 3 seed, let's say. Yeah, I think I want that 1 seed. So my eyes right now, we have all week to talk about this, Tim. I don't think we should see. I don't think we will see Josh Allen. I don't want to see Josh Allen on the field. I want to see him waving to the crowd, right, and smiling. That's it. Not this week. Kyle Allen, buddy, it's your chance to prove me wrong. His mouth in Rochester saying this in Afternoon Drive now. Go out there and do something special on Saturday, and then we can put this to rest. I don't get the sense that's going to happen. We have Maggie Gray coming up. Maggie Gray, who now has a new endeavor, a must-win game podcast. We will talk to Maggie about that and get her thoughts on the 2026 Buffalo Bills. We've got time for your calls as well on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line at 585-866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
Hurt in a car? Call the largest motor vehicle accident firm in the state. We've helped thousands fight for big money and big results. You only have one chance to win. Rideshare, truck, motorcycle, car, only call William Mattar. 585-444-4444. Main Street, Williamsville, West Main Street, Rochester. We would be honored to help you. So call 585-444-4444 or go to williammattar.com.
Notice a rattle in your ducts or a rise in your heating and cooling bills? Well, if you do, give Belknap a ring. With 0% financing, the cost of upgrading to a high-efficiency dual fuel heating system is a breeze. Learn more at belknapheating.com. That's belknapheating.com. Go green, save energy and money with Belknap. Schedule a free estimate on your new installation. Give Belknap a ring at 716-688-1728. For more comfort and less ka-ching, give Belknap a ring. Oh,
Figuring
we're
out the
back.
kinks here.
Figuring out the kinks. There we go. You well, hey, it's the first time we've done a radio show here on. Welcome back, Gene Battaglia, Tim Schneider. We're back in Afternoon Drive, folks, 4 to 6. You can give us a call at 585-866-4326. You can write to us on YouTube or Twitch, right in the comments section, as Randy did. Bills are in shambles. Fired the wrong guy. Pepsi uniforms, and a $2 billion stadium with 22-inch video boards. I feel like they opened up with a practice to try and turn the public's opinion with the new jerseys, and they just made it worse. Okay, Randy, thank you for watching and writing in. Okay, lot to unpack. I've seen the Pepsi comparison.
I did too.
That's
Former boss.
Yeah, that's actually funny there. Fired the wrong guy. The time had run for McDermott. I think, like, if you wanted to say, hey, everybody out, I would listen to that. And it remains to be seen whether Joe Brady can actually do a better job. But there was only so many chances that Sean McDermott was going to get, right? I feel like I'm alone on this. I don't think Sean McDermott gets a job coming up this next offseason. He was in Canton. He's making the rounds. He's been on Rome and other places. J-Man writing in. Welcome back to Drive Time. Gene finally served out his probation. LOL. That I did. It was strange how when, the first version of the sports bar, where Danger and I broke up. We didn't really break up. He got promoted, right? But then all of a sudden, coincidentally, I go in the 1 to 3. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, got to make this work. See where this kind of goes. We're gonna do just fine here. So thank you, J-Man, for writing in. And we do have time for your calls coming up the next hour. 585-866-4326. One thing from the NFL that the Chiefs tweeting out a picture of Eric Bieniemy, big smile on his face. Welcome back, Eric Bieniemy. And, Andy Reid, it's good to have EB back. He's back in the fold. He hasn't missed a step. This is the exact quote. He was out there getting after it. That's a positive on the offensive side. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I don't know. If my wife was shot by my son, I don't know if I'd be out there smiling 2 weeks later. All right, that's just me. But this is the head coach that also, well, yeah, he literally buried his son. He was back at practice the next week. 585-866-4326. Let's talk some Bills football next. My name is Gene Battaglia.
WROCAM, WBEE HD2, and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester. An Odyssey Sports Station, WGR Rochester. Sports Update.
Bill center Connor McGovern didn't practice again today. Also sitting out of practice, running back Ty Johnson and Cole Bishop. Not sure of the extent of these injuries as head coach Joe Brady did not talk to reporters today. Dawson Knox giving his first impressions of the new stadium.
I got here like 4 hours early. I was just walking around on the field, just taking it in because it still doesn't feel real yet, and it's incredible. It's the coolest place I've ever played football in, and there's going to be some incredible memories to be made here in the near future.
1 p.m. Saturday, Bills hosting Carolina and Buffalo's preseason opener. We'll talk to Maggie Gray coming up later this hour, some Bills football. Rochester Red Wings are off tonight. They begin a series at home tomorrow against Charlotte. The Red Sox beginning a series north of the border tonight in Toronto. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester.
Pull up a chair, stay for a while. You're in the sports bar on WGR. Grab a drink, hang your coat, get sports talk. Live from Western New York. It's a master show. 9 times better than your typical host. 9 times. Gene and Tim have takes much harder than most. No one cares when you're out. Sabres, Bills, Americans, Red Wings, and Nighthawks. Sports bar for Rochester Sports Talk.
Hour number 2. Welcome. You found us. We're here. We're back. In our new, or is it our old? Whatever it is, we're on the air now, 4 to 6. For here on in, as long as they'll have us talking Rochester sports, and certainly this time of year, it's Buffalo Bills football. Gene Battaglia with you, our fine producer Tim Schneider, Francesco filling in for Dan DeLorean behind the glass, but technically it really isn't behind the glass. It's across the hallway. You can give us a call, 585-866-4326. That's the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. You can write to us on X, our handle at WGR Rochester, as we will be talking to Maggie Gray. Maggie Gray, who her husband's from Rochester. Maggie grew up a Bills fan, and she talks sports on national platforms. It is just great to have this connection. You don't want to miss that. That's coming up here in just a little bit. So if you want to give us a call, I would suggest doing that now because I will take as much time with Maggie as I can coming up later this hour. The phrase, and I might get fined for this, is cut it out. Like anybody that's upset about these obstructive views, I have yet to talk to the person who purchased them and feels like they were wrong, okay? You're looking at this at a picture online, and these aggregators on Instagram are saying, what is this? And mind you, that's Mike Florio. He's the original aggregator. He's not out there doing things on his own. He's just reporting on what other people report on. So is the stadium perfect? No, it's not. I think the biggest thing to gripe about is actually no bathrooms at the top level there. You got to walk all the way down. But if you want the seating pitched the way you do, you need to have safety features. You need guardrails. You need plexiglass. You need all the things that keep you, the fan, safe. So your eyes will adjust to these things. Let me give you another thing. When you go to a Red Wing game and you're sitting right behind the dugout, do we have this sort of visceral action at the beginning when they put up the nets? Like, we live in the day and age of, hey, I'm looking at my phone and I'm looking down at my phone and you get popped in the head. True story. Like, the first time that happened at the stadium, that was my nephew, Justin, who got popped in the head, big gash, and Dan Mason and the staff couldn't have been any more gracious. But that was one, and granted, he was not looking at his phone. He was actually walking down and just coming back from concessions and couldn't get out of the way. Did we complain about that? No, it's a safety feature. Why wouldn't we do that? And the thing is, when you're sitting behind the net at a ball game, your eyes adjust. Unless the fly-by-night outfit that the Bills contracted lied to you, the consumer, about the seat, then what are we doing here? You're just complaining and bitching about Nothing, because that's what people like to do. They like to complain and bitch. Saturday night, my feed was filled with people that are just, yeah, Bills are back, and I'm not sure I like the uniforms. Okay, that's fine. And then Sunday, I get back from Pittsburgh, I'm like, oh my gosh, what the heck happened? Like, all of a sudden, we're like the joke of the NFL. And, now the aggregators are getting up on this. Is this our old friend, John from Rochester, who I haven't talked to since we were in the previous slot? John, welcome. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Gino, I'm doing good. I'm glad you're back to the normal time. Although I did call you once. But anyway,
you did, yeah.
I wanted to welcome you back.
Thank you, John.
I want to welcome you back. Listen, I was thinking about this all during the off season. One of the best things that happened to the Bills last year, they got eliminated. And you know why? Josh Allen was playing with a broken foot, and he could have been RG3 all over again. I think that it was a omen from God that our season ended, Josh's foot is healed, and he'll have a long career. I'll tell you, I think that could have been a heck of a concern. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, that's one of those sports what ifs, John. And thankfully you don't have to think about what if. You could also say, hey, the Bills go into New England, they thump them, and they win the Super Bowl. So either way, looking ahead, Josh Allen's fully healthy, and who knew that you could take a bone out of your foot and like it never happened, like you're cutting a hangnail or something like that. Like it's like what are you doing? It was remarkable what Allen did last year playing on the broken foot, and for that reason too. I know some people might be upset that, hey, I paid for all this money for this, my PSL in a preseason game, and I don't get to see player X. Maybe that's number 17. No, I think most people kind of understand the drill. Like, Saturday is a day just to go out, have a good time, enjoy the new stadium, the new concessions. Again, look, I think the only complaint that you really should have as a Bills fan is the bathrooms, like going up top. Like, they didn't think that through. Like, I'm like up here, but I've got to walk all these rows downstairs, and that pitch is a little bit steep. I'm not good with heights, by the way, so I don't know if I would, do fine with that up there.
I'm learning now at like a certain age, maybe the last couple of years, that stairs aren't for me. I don't know if it's because I'm overactive or just getting older, but it's tough to get up these stadium seats or the steps sometimes.
It's not easy, and that is one thing. 585-866-4326. If you have thoughts on the new stadium or John, and John, thank you for finding us. And yes, if you're just getting your car right now, we are back in our home, 4 to 6. We will drive you home, and granted, when we get to Amherst season, we'll be talking about them and the Nighthawks. Wings do something interesting. We'll be talking about that. Anything that happens here in the Flower City, that's what we're here for. We're here to just, you lead a busy life, right? You don't have time. Okay, well, we're plugging you in. So the bullet points today from Bill's practice, really at this point of the season, who isn't practicing? It's McGovern, it's Ty Johnson, and Cole Bishop. Ryan Talbot joined us. He was at practice on Saturday, and Ty Johnson's running a route, slips. Okay. 2 trainers come over, and he's walking off gingerly. You hope that's fine. Connor McGovern, well, it wasn't a good night for Josh Allen, by the way. He threw 4 picks, right? McGovern is, coming back in the other direction, and he slips, and he's hobbling. Okay, his night is done. And then not sure exactly what Cole Bishop, what that was about today. But Ryan mentioned that somebody pointed out that he wasn't there for the tail end of the practice on Saturday night. So, again, we are not in regular season mode. We don't get regular updates from Joe Brady. Today was Pete Carmichael talking to reporters. And I think Carmichael's kind of cut from that head coaching cloth where, hey, what's the one thing? If you had one question to ask the offensive coordinator, well, you could ask him many questions, but I'd be curious to know, all right, you were in New Orleans with Alvin Kamara. You helped develop that offense along with Sean Payton. Can we juice it up there with James Cook? And gave you the standard answer, like, well, of course we could. We're looking forward to that. But will they actually do this? That's another thing. So questions, excitement. I think that's an area of growth for the Bills if they can get that pass game going. James Cook got his rushing title, but now, I don't know, can he be top 3 in terms of yards from scrimmage? That would be interesting. We talk about best running backs in the league. It's Bijan Robinson. It's Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay, what is separating James Cook from that? Well, for one thing, Detroit's quarterback is not as good as Buffalo's. not to mention Atlanta's quarterback's not. So kind of Cook people by comparison. Oh, well, of course you have Josh Allen there. Of course you're going to have opportunity to run. 585-866-4326. Mike in Sodus Bay. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you and Tim on now at a time that I can call again.
Right?
I was very loyal watching you on YouTube, delayed, but it's nice to be live again.
Yeah, it's great to have you, Mike, and I'm trying to picture you out there having like a Mai Tai right now. Is that I know you're working. I know you're to come into town for work there, but what's your summer like, bud?
The summer is spent a lot on the boat, floating around the bay on the pontoon boat, drinking some Heineken Lights.
That's what we should all strive for, Mike.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening and watching when
you
can.
Gene,
yeah.
I did go Friday or Saturday night. I did go too.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to point out it was an amazing experience, and the stadium is beautiful. It's wonderful, and I'm all on board with your comments that these are just all negative Nancys who weren't there Saturday night. They haven't been to the stadium yet. It was just an incredible experience for somebody that's been to. Well, that was my 41st time going to the see the Bills either play or practice at home. And like the caller earlier, I've been all over the country, and it's a great stadium. People are going to love it.
Yeah, I don't doubt it, and it's certainly better than what we had before. Thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate Mike from Sodus Bay and everybody else that has been with us. Following us, bouncing around here, but I can confidently say this is our new slot here, 4 to 6. Thank you, Mike. 585-866-4326. And again, he said a negative Nancy. Like, if you go to a Sabre game and you're sitting down low, guess what? Your view's obstructed. The netting technically is an obstructed view. The only thing that could possibly change the narrative on this story is that you get a group that says, nope, here's the picture of what you sold us, and this is not it. And then there's some sort of lawsuit.
But then they just make it right. Change their seats. It's not that hard.
That's it. That's it. Or you take that seat out and you do something different there. There's nothing to say that you can't take that row out with that. Again, just people are just being this is where we are. The positivity, the story of, oh my gosh, this is great. That doesn't sell. What sells is, the competing radio station in Buffalo. Oh, I'm not talking about GR. I'm talking about the other one. Just always, what's the negative angle on everything? And again, I'm not going to be waving pom-poms, go Bills, go, yay, Pagula Sports Entertainment. No, it's not my job here. I just call it what I see it. You've sit in seats like this before. Trust me. You've gone to a Red Wing game. The first time that you did, like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to enjoy this experience. I'm sitting behind the net, and all of a sudden, like an inning goes by, and you forget that there's actually a net there, because you know why? Your brain kind of does this trick of filling in the blanks there. It's going to be fine. I really think that this is much ado about nothing. 585-866-4326. That is our phone number. We'll be talking Maggie Gray, who loves the Buffalo Bills. She'll be joining us here. The Cowboys dishing out some money today. Quinnen Williams, 3 years, $105.9 million. That's not bad. So you go from being a Jet now to being a Cowboy, And isn't it kind of strange that my observation, the darling pick of the NFL, the chic pick, if you will, it's the Dallas Cowboys. To me, it's pretty obvious. If the Rams have Matthew Stafford sitting upright and his neck doesn't turn to sawdust, they are going to be in the Super Bowl. They were right on the doorstep last year. Play here, play there. They're the Super Bowl champions. This seems like a natural progression. And if the Buffalo Bills get to the Super Bowl, that's going to be a problem. You know what? We don't have to talk about that today. Like, that's way down the road. Maybe we'll talk about it in October when the Bills have to go out there on Columbus Day on Monday night. But, hey, you would welcome that problem, right? If you're Bill saying, we're going to be underdogs in the Super Bowl against the Rams. A lot of people are picking Dallas. And I would just ask the question, why? Well, you look at the division. What do you really feel good about that division right now? I know Giant fans are excited, and I know Harbaugh is an upgrade. But, come on. You mean to tell me that Jackson Dart is all that? Like, he's going to take a step from year 1 to year 2? I am not putting any faith in that. Washington is flawed. Yeah, they bring in Diggs, and he's got to be on his best behavior. And I think that Dan Quinn looks like a coach that could be gone, as is Nick Sirianni. Like, he, to me, has always been on borrowed time in Philadelphia. Yeah, 2 Super Bowls, who cares? We're going to get you. Like, that's a team right now. But Philadelphia, to me, with all that being said, because of their defense, I still would take the Eagle defense over Dallas's defense. It's interesting how Dallas went from this team that, they got Parsons and not much else. Now, people are much higher on the Dallas defense. It's Quentin Williams getting paid today. We'll get the thoughts of Maggie Gray. Of course, Maggie, for many, many years, you heard weekday mornings here on these airwaves. She joins us next to talk some Bills football. My name is Gene Battaglia. This is the Sports Bar.
You're in the Sports Bar with Gene.
WGR Rochester. So much action we couldn't fit it all in one app. Listen to WGR Rochester and take Bills, Sabres, and Amerks coverage everywhere you go in the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester.
This hour brought to you by Odyssey Rochester Recruitment.
Are you a digital or media salesperson looking to represent advertising products that stand out from the rest? Odyssey Rochester, the owners of this radio station, are looking for you. Call Mike Johnson at 585-423-2946. Odyssey is an equal opportunity employer.
WGR Rochester Sports Update.
Today is a normal practice day for the Bills. Out there, again, not out there today was Connor McGovern. Not sure of the exact injury. Head coach Joe Brady talking about the depth at center.
Credit being, in these situations that we have guys that aren't just rookies having to go in there and go with it. But look, I don't want anybody to ever get injured, but when we go through this, it's real. That's what happens in games, and a guy like Loiter said, just going in, not blinking, and we just got to call the game and roll.
Also sitting out today, Ty Johnson and Cole Bishop. 1 o'clock, first preseason game for the Bills is Saturday. Buffalo hosting Carolina. We'll talk to Maggie Gray joining us next here in the Sports Bar. Rochester Red Wings are off tonight. They begin a series at home tomorrow against Charlotte. The Wings coming off a loss at Scranton. And Boston Red Sox begin a series north of the border tonight in Toronto. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester.
Where the voice of the Rochester fan is heard. This is WGR Rochester.
As I was looking at the seating map, I was also looking at the parking map. And everything's kind of new. Welcome back in. And if you're going to the game on Saturday, I would suggest, all right, just make sure you're coming up with a plan, because obviously you parked at the old stadium. You got to figure out where you're going. And as with many new developments, sometimes you're building a big structure, whatever development there is. There's new infrastructure that comes with it. In this case, there's a new street I hadn't even heard of. And I'm one who goes in on Big Tree, and then I cut over. And where I have to cut over now, it's called Gray Drive. I'm like, Gray Drive? Oh, my gosh. Maggie Gray? Could this actually be? And I text Maggie right away and say, this is a sign, this is an omen. And Maggie's like, Gene, you're reaching. Maggie. Great to have you. I'm looking for any sign at all, Maggie, that this is going to be the year. Maggie, it's great to hear you. How are you today?
Oh, man, Gene, I hope. I mean, if I can take any credit for any kind of success that the Bills could have, I will. I'm happy to. But I was thinking maybe it's gray because of the alternate uniforms, which I know has, like, everyone up in arms, which I didn't realize, all the men in my life suddenly became like these fashionistas, critiquing the alternate uniforms. And I kind of love that Josh is so behind them. So considering Josh Allen pretty much makes, I think, 99.9% of the decisions now with this franchise, which, is fine. I'm wondering if he maybe got them to change the name of the street just to further troll people because they don't like the uniforms. Like Josh is playing 3D chess with all of us.
Well, the answers, in full disclosure, is why is it Gray Drive? Because I'm in the media and we're parking in Gray Drive. If you're a PSL holder in the highest level, you get platinum, gold, silver. I'm not kidding. That's literally now I'm down to gray here, which, all right.
And the media is gray?
The media is gray.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Tell us what they think of the media. I mean, we couldn't be something a little spicier, a little, jazz up, at least be yellow, orange, purple, something.
Or at least say this is the Van Miller lot or Steve Tasker lot or something, Tasker Drive. I was like, and maybe they're saving that down the road, whatever it may be. You brought up well, they're not called gray. They're Nickel City or whatever. Like this is Crayola crayons, 64 crayons, nickel. I don't remember that color, but I think we just need football at this point, Maggie. If we're bitching about uniforms, and then funny how like on Saturday night, nobody on my feed was complaining about obstructed seats. In fact, I know somebody personally that has a seat that one of those photos, and you know what's funny? Your eyes kind of make the adjustment, and then everything's kind of fine. I think we just need football at this point.
Yeah, can I just take it one step further? Because obviously I wasn't at the game, but I saw the pictures on social media. And listen, to be fair, like usually if you are buying a ticket with an obstructed view, it will tell you this is a partially obstructed view, or maybe the ticket will be cheaper, or whatever. So this is not the first stadium where every seat in the house isn't, exactly perfect. You're not at the 50-yard line. But can I just tell you something that I feel like I'm noticing a little more? Maybe this is just on social media or whatever. There's just a little bit of negativity from the NFL fans at large about Buffalo and about the Bills. And I'm starting to sense it. I feel like there's been a real picking apart of Josh and, kind of does he deserve to be thought of as the best quarterback in the league because he hasn't won yet. And, I'm seeing some crazy takes that someone said they'd rather have Jalen Hurts than Josh Allen because he wins. I'm like, do you know how football works? Anyway, but I think there's this just something generally, Gene, that's happening where people are having maybe a tiny bit of Bills fatigue. I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about the greater NFL fans. And they're kind of getting frustrated almost Josh and the team has gotten too many accolades for not being able to at least get to the Super Bowl and win one yet. Are you noticing any of this?
Yes, actually, just a little bit. But of the teams that we had fatigue, my gosh, the Patriots enough already. And then when the Chiefs got their first Super Bowl, okay, that's really nice and cute. And then by the end of it, it's okay, yeah, the pop star girlfriend, whatever. Just fatigue set in at that point. I don't know, maybe just kind of take a lower profile at this point. But then again, I don't know what else you could ask your quarterback. I mean, the quarterback gets married. You don't see any pictures leaking out with, other than some fly-by-night drone going overhead. They kept that private. We didn't even know the name of his daughter. He's taking great steps to hey, football is this. I'm not trying to build a bigger brand because honestly, there's opportunities there. I would think, Maggie. So I don't think any of that is actually coming from here, if that makes sense.
No, I don't think so. And for example, you want to juxtapose that with, I don't know, renting out Madison Square Garden so that 1,000 of your least closest friends, including somehow Dean Blandino, the head of officiating, got to that Taylor Travis wedding. Anyway, I roll my eyes a little bit about that. But I also just think there's I think this happened maybe a little with Peyton Manning before he won his first Super Bowl. There was just this sort of all right, if we're going to call you one of the best ever, now you really have to win. And that pressure has been building and mounting. And I just sort of feel a little of the picking apart of Josh's game. And listen, I get it. He's been incredible. He's the quarterback I think we all dreamed that, he could be. But there have been some moments in the postseason where obviously he has not had his greatest moments. And listen, as we know, as Bills fans, the Bills have found every way to lose. The defense has let them down. The coaching has let them down. And Josh has at times let them down. The injuries to the wide receiver core, not being good enough at the wide receiver core. Every single way the Bills can lose, they have. But I just noticed a little bit of it coming back and kind of this backlash on Josh Allen. And I don't think it's warranted. And the other thing that's weird about it is you mentioned the Patriots, the Chiefs. Usually the fatigue sets in with the teams that are winning too much, not the team, or even the Bills of the 90s. They kept getting to the Super Bowl, so people got Bills fatigue. This team hasn't even gone to the Super Bowl yet. How can we be fatigued? They can't be villains. They haven't won anything. They're still the lovable kind of underdogs to me, but I guess that doesn't fit into a neat, nice little box, I guess.
Well, Maggie, last year the Bills got off to the start, but we were looking and this doesn't feel right. Yes, they're 4-0, and then they lose to the Patriots, and everything kind of tumbles. Let me present a scenario to you because at Houston, that's not a place that Josh Allen's won. That's a tough opener. Okay, say you don't get that. The next 3 games at home, you almost need to sweep. But if you get 2 out of 3, it's not bad, as someone once said, right? All right, you get 2 out of 3 there. Okay, do you split against the Raiders and Rams? I would hope. I don't expect them to beat the Rams. Well, if that ends up happening the way I just laid it out, the Bills are a 500 team to start November. What are we going to do here? I mean, is this going to be a different season for Bills fans, Maggie? Should we caution against a quick start here?
Well, I mean, the whole schedule to me is brutal, absolutely brutal. And yes, Houston has been like a house of horrors for the Bills. I mean, this is going back, but especially for Josh, the defense is so good. So this is where what I'm really going to be looking at. Because the biggest changes, let's be honest, the biggest changes with the team this year are obviously happening on the defensive side. New defensive coordinator, changing up the scheme entirely. Can the offense maybe carry the defense a little bit in the beginning of the year when defenses are ahead of offenses generally in the NFL to start the season, right? This is why we all bet unders, to start the year, because the defenses are ahead of the offenses. the offense really, to me, has to carry them through the beginning part of the year when, the weather is fine and, and things, so hopefully the conditions are okay. And then let the defense kind of find their footing, because are you expecting them to be out of the gate gangbusters? I mean, everyone's getting used to a whole different situation on defense. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. But this schedule, again, you hit everybody. How come this is the first time after 5 years that they don't win the division? And yet the schedule, this looks like a division winner schedule. Yeah. Not just going to Houston, Detroit, you mentioned, going to the Rams to play Monday Night Football, but then also Kansas City, and you have to go to Green Bay, go to Lambeau. You're playing Chicago. You're at Denver again on Christmas. Oh, my God. And not to mention the Ravens. It's just there are not a lot of places to hide on the schedule.
No, Maggie Gray will tell you about her new podcast and when you get more, not just Bills content, great sports content. We got to ask you another Bills question about Brady, because we can't overlook that was a major, major decision. It was one of those, if you're a Bills fan, you remember where you were. We're like, oh, my gosh, they really did it. They moved on from McDermott. Here we are, and everybody asked me, what do you think of Joe Brady? And I don't know what to say. At what point, Maggie, what do you need to see here from Joe Brady? What are your early observations? Because, quite honestly, I don't know if he's the guy or not right now.
Yeah, listen, we're all going to find out together, Gene. I mean, and he's going to find out, right? Because I don't even think you can really simulate these kind of situations. You can try. To me, it's what kind of game manager is he? Is he able to be calling the offense and be able to manage the offense while also managing the game? And, it's how smart are you when you're using timeouts? How, game situation stuff. I mean, listen, I live in the New York City area now. I can't tell you how many Jets head coaches that have just come in and just been total boneheads. You understand that they don't have a clue what they're doing. And that's another thing that they have to overcome, and why it's been a revolving door for one of the division rivals of the Bills. So, how smart is he as a head coach is kind of what I want to know. Are you using your challenges in a good way? Are you managing end-of-game situations in a good way? Who are you going to be as far as a head coach? Are you going to be a Ben Johnson? Are you going to be able to kind of take to this right away? Is this going to be a little more of a dicier kind of oh gosh, this was just Josh's guy and now we're all stuck with him? I think he's got to show how competent he can be as a head as managing the game that's in front of you while also being in charge of the offense.
One common thread in all those playoff losses, and anybody wants to criticize Josh Allen, I mean, I give you the Cincinnati loss. He wasn't great that day, but every other game it's okay, can you get a stop here? And Denver included on that. Your thought, okay, the defense, the McDermott defense isn't a thing anymore. We promises of more aggressive. You never would have had a guy like C.J. Gardner-Johnson come in under Sean McDermott. How long do you think this will take? What is this a source of optimism for you, Maggie, looking at, all right, this is going to be a different look here on defense this year?
Let's see. Source of optimism. How many of those do I have as a lifelong Bills fan? Not to be I'm sorry, I'm in prove it mode. Everyone's got to prove it, I guess, except for Josh, who has really proven that he is certainly good enough to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I mean, beyond that. So I guess I'm going to have to I hate to say this, I'm going to wait to see, I think that, listen, I didn't hate the hire of Jim Leonard. I don't hate it. I think that he is a smart guy. He obviously comes with, a lot of, accolades, and people seem to love him. But who the heck knows? You get to the NFL level and it's so sink or swim. Some guys just can't handle it. And I have no idea what this is going to be like, for Jim Leonard or for Joe Brady. Is it all going to be too much? It is so rare. I think it's what happened, 2 times that a rookie head coach has gotten a team to the Super Bowl. And one, I think the last one might have been George Seifert, if I'm remembering this correctly. And that was a wagon of a team. And the Bills should be a wagon too. So can he steer the ship and guide it? I wish I had an answer. We're all going to find out together because it's going to be a heck of a season. It was, the safe thing to do would have been to just keep McDermott. And it feels like the Bills kind of just split the baby a little bit by keeping Joe Brady. And I might end up regretting this, but I'll own it if I do, if it looks stupid. I wanted Mike McCarthy. He was available. He is a Super Bowl winning head coach. The guy has coached up offenses that look fantastic. He turned Dak Prescott into an MVP candidate. Josh doesn't even need that much help. And I would have went with McCarthy, but maybe I'll end up regretting that take big time.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Do you think Josh had a say in this? I mean, I know he was sitting in on all those, but it was just weird to me how Brady was the first one up, and then they talked to everybody else, including Kubiak, I believe. And no, they settled in on Brady, but right, this is if Josh was involved in the decision, he's got to step it up this year, Maggie.
Well, and I think it's not Josh, but we're going to forgive him, if he makes a mistake because you want to go with a guy you're comfortable with, right? It's Brandon Beane, I think, who would really get who now, there's nowhere to hide now for Beane, right? He had McDermott, you're able to kind of point to it and say, look, he's the problem, I'm not the problem. And then when your head coach goes, well, it's natural then to look at the general manager because there's not a fan in the world who would say, let's keep Brandon Beane over Josh Allen. That's just not going to – that's not the way that sports works. So I think that if these coaching hires end up looking really bad, it's not going to stick on Josh. It's going to be on Beane, and he'll be gone.
We one more Bills question for you, Maggie. We debate this on the show. To me, if McDermott gets another job next year, I mean, if the Bills reach the Super Bowl – that doesn't lead me to think that McDermott will get another job. But if it falls apart, maybe the culture thing was, So do we have to kind of wait? Does he get another shot right away in this league as a head coach?
I mean, let's put it this way. I was not surprised he didn't get hired this cycle, First of all, I think that, and this is totally away from Sean McDermott, I think that there is maybe a bit of a bias against defensive-minded head coaches. I think a lot of teams want to go for the offensive guy, and I understand why. I actually, if we're going to be honest, I see him becoming a defensive coordinator in this league for a long, long time. And maybe he goes back into the Andy Reid tree. Maybe Steve Spagnuolo decides to retire and Sean McDermott ends up in Kansas City. And maybe that's the way that he gets his Super Bowl. I know. But you know what? See, I know that a lot of people in Western New York are also Knicks fans. And listen, you just had Mike Brown come in and he led the Knicks to the title. So it's a different sport and a totally different situation because Mike Brown had been a head coach before and Joe Brady has never been one. But maybe this is the year of the first-year head coaches kind of making their mark.
Maybe, yeah. Mike Brown, the one coach of the year twice, once in Sacramento, and honestly,
I know.
We kind of look past that he was a really good.
Well,
coach.
In the NBA, winning coach of the year is a kiss of death.
That's true, Maggie. I've got to ask you about baseball here, and here are the Dodgers. Yeah. I mean, I think they're bored right now. It's oh, okay, yep. Can we just looking at their watches? Can we just kind of get to the postseason here? You have thoughts here on the Dodgers where we all think it's bad for baseball. Look at them go get another star. Oh, great, they're going to be a 3-time World Series champion. Is it all that bad in your opinion?
I didn't think that the trade deadline was the worst part of what the Dodgers did because I kind of agree with Tarek Skubal. He was there to be had. The Dodgers didn't trade their top even 4 prospect. They traded their 5th highest prospect in their organization. And I commend the Dodgers for going for the jugular, going for the throat. If you have a lot of Yankee fans in your audience or just Yankee fans all over the world, in the country, they wish that the Yankees had been more aggressive, right? And just kind of gone all in. But the problem to me with the Dodgers, and my biggest gripe with them, is the deferred money.
Yeah.
That's the part of it that feels I know it's not against the rules right now, but come on. So Shohei Ohtani's he's making $2 million a year. Give me a break. There's lefty relievers who are making way more than him. That's bananas to me that you can push off the salary and defer it until 2040. And because he makes so much with his endorsements that, you're able to sign all these other guys and still make it manageable. So that to me is the biggest issue. I hate that the Dodgers, who can definitely afford it, they do all these deferred money contracts. And they're not the only team, by the way, but I think that's the worst part of baseball. I think that you should, whatever the bill is today, that's got to be the bill, not what's the bill in the year 2035 when no one cares anymore.
So that I think would be a compromise here. Okay, no salary cap, but no more deferred contracts, and we're going to make sure, like teams like the Pirates or whoever, if you're an owner that doesn't want to spend money, then you know what, we're going to work a way to sell your franchise and you can get out of the game. We're going to put some sort of higher floor. Is that a good enough compromise, or do we expect Armageddon when it comes to baseball, meaning no baseball next season?
Yeah, this is hard for me, right? Because I think most of us would want to say, all right, like we should all sort of be pro-labor. I don't know, unless you're like some kind of like massive like billionaire. Yeah. Should we all kind of be pro-labor? Like the guys should make as much money as they possibly can. But ultimately, I do think it probably will be better, not for like philosophically, but like for the sport, is probably better if you can spread some of the talent around. And the only problem is like, all right, are these actual cheapo owners of these smaller markets, like, are they actually going to spend in a way that makes sense, or are they just going to spend to like get to that salary floor and then go, look, I did what I need to do. Can't get mad at me now because I signed one guy to some dumb contract or whatever. I signed one guy to a huge contract, but my team still has no shot in hell of doing anything, you know, remotely meaningful. So, you know, I hope that, I don't want to say it like shames the owners into actually having to create great baseball teams. But hopefully if they, you know, do go Armageddon and they do end up getting something that looks like a salary cap, they'll probably call it something else. But like if it gets something that looks like a salary cap, it does create parity in the league, and it should help, you know, be the rising tide that lifts all the boats. But let's be honest, just because you can spend money doesn't mean you're going to be good. Look at the Mets. Oh. I mean, they got the second highest payroll in baseball, and they're in last place in the division. I mean, just because you spend it doesn't mean you're going to spend it wisely.
Oh, tell me about it. It was their Saturday night in Pittsburgh, man. 9-0. I'm like, what am I doing here? I should be in Buffalo checking out the new stadium here. Maggie, tell everybody about A Must Win Game, the podcast, YouTube, how this all came about.
Yeah, it's really exciting. You know, I got approached right after the end of the Maggie and Perloff show. I got approached to say, hey, start a pod like right away. And I really just needed to take a minute and take like a beat to kind of decide, what do I actually want to do here? And so what I landed on is A Must Win Game, putting out 3 episodes a week. They land on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And it's me doing some of my takes, stock up, stock down. You know, I'm fading the LA Rams for certain reasons. I'm talking about the Buffalo Bills, the backlash, a little of the WNBA controversy, just sort of like the news, kind of what's in the world, and then doing fun interviews with a lot of my, you know, famous friends. So consider yourself booked for a future episode, Gene, and we'll talk Bills and all of our favorite garbage plates.
All right, well, you got to aim higher on that. And for folks who don't know, because I can't assume everybody knows this, your husband is from Rochester. He turned us on way in advance, Casey Concepcion. I mean, is there a little Rochester in your future here this summer on a family trip or anything like that, Megan?
You know, this is the best decision I ever made. I always say this. It was to marry a guy from Rochester, and the love of my life. And I was lucky enough now to be embraced by the greater Rochester community, even though I'm from Binghamton. So I'm an upstater, but we never really called ourselves Western New York. Binghamton's more upstate, and now I can also, you know, claim Western New York as one of my second homes. You know, we have no plans this year, but next year, my husband and all of his high school friends are talking big reunion.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
So if you have any,
oh, boy.
And the Labatt's going to be flowing, Gene. If you have any recommendations.
Oh gosh.
Everyone still lives up there, though. So most of his high school friends still live in the area. So we should be set.
You know, you're going to be kind of. You'll have to make nice with all the spouses and everything. Those are always kind of, at least for me, those are always kind of awkward. Like, okay, yep, I'm here, but. Well, Maggie, love having you on. We're going to check out A Must Win Game. Thank you for your time today, as always, and appreciate it.
Gene, how about this? If I come up for the reunion, for my husband's high school reunion, he went to Wilson High School. If we come up for that reunion, can I stop by the studio?
Of course.
Okay.
You don't even have to ask. I'm honored.
I'm inviting myself over.
Yes.
But what a faux pas.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I would invite you. If I knew what week you're going to be out in Cape Cod, I'd be like, come on over. Invite you, and I'd love to meet your husband. It'd be fantastic. Maggie, appreciate everything that you do. And, we'll make that note coming up next year for the reunion.
Absolutely love it. Thanks, Gene, and I'll go Bills.
Thank you. Maggie Gray, must-win game. We're out of time. We'll be back tomorrow, 4 o'clock. Gene Battaglia here, WGR Rochester.